by the Daily Record. The Most Admired CEO honors talented business CEOs, education leaders, and nonprofit executive directors throughout Maryland. Candidates are selected by a panel of judges based on their professional accomplishments, community service, and letters of reference that were submitted. Congratulations, Dr. Santelises. This well-deserved recognition is a testament to your outstanding leadership, dedication, and remarkable contributions to city schools and to Baltimore City. Your vision, strategic thinking, and unwavering commitment have not only elevated the district to new heights, but have also set a shining example for all of us to follow. As you celebrate, please know that your perseverance continues to inspire and motivate all of us within city schools. Congratulations. We're now going to move into something that we are very, very, very excited about. And that is our Scholar Superstars. We are re-implementing that celebratory event, and we are super excited to celebrate some young people. And we're going to do this once a month at one of our two board meetings. We have two board meetings a month. So at one of them, we're going to celebrate and highlight our students. So each month, as I just mentioned, we're going to honor two students from various grade levels for their excellence and exceptional contributions in a segment that we call Scholar Superstar. I think we should have some theme music for that. Scholar Superstar. October's Scholar Superstars are two very special young people. One who I met just a few minutes ago. Our first winner is Darius Jones. Let's give it up for Darius Jones. Make some noise for Darius Jones. Darius is a seventh grader at Hazelwood Elementary Middle School in East Baltimore. Darius is a standout leader with a genuine passion for helping and motivating others. His skills and determination have led to a remarkable victory at the VEX Robotics Championship. How impressive is that? Outside of academics, Darius contributes to his school's green team recycling efforts every Wednesday afternoon. To learn more about Darius and personally congratulate him for his accomplishments, the communications office visited him at Hazelwood to capture this amazing video.
I am Darius Jones. I am in seventh grade at Hazelwood Elementary Middle, and I am this month October Scholar Superstar. Wow, I actually feel really excited because it's just a new experience and new feeling for me. I have finally just realized that all my hard work has paid off. So out of a lot of choices, I had picked robotics because I had heard about it. I just wanted to get more information about it because I wanted to become an engineer. I am very kind, I'm very happy, and I'm very intelligent. I don't really have a specific favorite teacher because all my teachers are honestly my favorite. But if I were to say one, it would be Miss Amada because Miss Amada has taught me a whole bunch and I have learned a lot from her. I would like to thank Miss Amada, my mother, and my stepfather. They have taught me a whole bunch and they taught me how I can go more than just my limit. And I am very grateful and excited and happy because all my hard work has paid off.
It is now my extreme pleasure to invite Darius's family. I know mom and stepdad is here tonight. If we could get 2 additional chairs at the table so that you all can join us right here up front. And any members of the Hazelwood Elementary Middle School staff that are present, I know I see one, come up and join us at the table, because certainly we know it takes a village to raise a child, right? So it's a whole team that we want to see to be able to celebrate this incredible superstar, Darius Jones. Can we give Darius another round of applause for just being exceptional? And so Darius, the Vice Chair Roberts, our student commissioner at Bloggy, we all had a part in actually reading a bit about multiple students, and you were one of the ones who just bubbled up to the top. And so we're very excited to have you here tonight. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about, again, because we heard some of the video, but what makes you such a great student? What makes your school such a great school? And then who are the folks around you that are here to support you tonight? And press the button right in front of you so it turns green. Yep, there you go.
First, I would like to say thank you very much again. And can you please repeat that first question?
Tell us a little bit more about yourself, and perhaps, because I'm a middle school educator, so my questions are, what do you want to be when you finish school? What do you want to do? Because here's the reality. You have 4.5 years left before you graduate from city schools, and that time is going to go by just like that. And so what do you want to do once you finish school with us at city schools?
Well, to answer that question, once I get out of middle school, I would like to go to Poly or City. Those are my top 2 number schools, because I would like to become an engineer when I grow up, and just to explore and just build different and new things.
Nice. So you want to solve problems. You want to solve problems for the world.
Yes.
Got you. All right. Now, what do you like most about your school?
What I love about my school is it's a really amazing school. It has a lot of enjoyable programs, and it's like so many different reasons why I can't explain them all. It's just a wonderful school.
Nice. And then tell us, who are some of the folks that are around you tonight? Who's with you? Who's a part of your village?
So first we have my mother. She has inspired me to do a whole bunch of things ever since I was little, all the way up. Then we have my stepfather, Tyreek. He really was the one to introduce me into the engineering world because of what we do for our family business. And then we have Miss Amada, because she had in the summertime, she had a little program going on, and I had just got interested. So when I first came, I thought it was just for the kids that just want to do something extra. Because this is what I'm gonna say. In the summertime, I had signed up for a math summer school. I didn't need it, but I signed up because of some fact on how I just wanted to learn a lot more for 7th grade, to get a little head start. But then at 12 o'clock was the end time for it, so I had to choose what else I wanted to do. So it was a lot of choices, but I had checked out robotics because it sounded interesting and I heard about it before. And that's how I got introduced to Miss Amada. And then we also have Mr. Rowe, the AP of our school. And he has been a great AP in these last 2 years.
That's incredible. You're making Darius, our commissioner, Seda Harrington, she's tearing up, because honestly, you're the best, right, of city schools, right? And it's unfortunate that, you know, we had some media members that were here just moments ago and they missed this moment, right, to be able to celebrate one of the best in city schools. Now, I know Mr. Rowe. We work together at Booker T, so I know you're in good hands at Hazelwood. All right, can we celebrate Darius one last time? I want to make sure that the board is able to capture a photo with you and your family. Can we do that? And the CEO? But before we do that, we also have something for you, Darius. We have a couple of things for you. So commissioners, if you can join us here in the front, along with Darius and Darius's mom and stepdad and the staff at Hazelwood Elementary Middle. Congratulations. So you got to hold your certificate.
For his death.
Now, Dr. Gresham, is Maya here yet? Yes, okay, no worries. So once Maya gets here, we're going to celebrate Maya too. But I definitely see Dr. Gresham, the principal of the Reach here. So good evening to you and to our staff from the Reach. So what we'll do is move on. And once Maya gets here, we will take some time to celebrate Maya. Okay? The board acknowledges a donation of $6,000 from Otsuka American Pharmaceuticals to Liberty Elementary School for 140 gift bags containing art supplies. The board acknowledges a monetary donation valued at $7,000 from WBAL Cares for improvements to buildings and facilities. The board acknowledges a non-monetary donation of educational supplies valued at $12,500 from the Baltimore Orioles. And they're in the playoffs right now, right? No, they're with.
No.
They are? It's contention. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that. All right. The board acknowledges a non-monetary donation of bikes and related cycling equipment valued at $37,115 from United Healthcare and KOM Sports Marketing to Hollibird Academy, Johnson Square Elementary, Margaret Brent Elementary Middle School, and William Packer Elementary School. Is there a motion to approve the PEP and quasi-judicial matters?
So,
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. Is there a second?
second, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington? And I'm in favor. That motion passes unanimously with those members present. I will now turn it over to the CEO for the CEO's comments.
Thank you very much, Chair McFadden. And look, right on time. Is this Maya?
Come on up, Maya. Perfect
Come on, Maya.
timing.
Perfect timing.
Let's give Maya a round of applause as she comes in. What an entrance. So Maya right there, and we're actually going to, are you mom? Come on up, mom. And is this brother? Come on up, brother. Come on up, Dr. Gresham. Come on up, Reach family. As we take a moment to, excuse us, Dr. Santelises, but as we take a moment to celebrate Maya Tapia, correct? Maya is a 12th grader at Reach Partnership School, also in East Baltimore. Maya is an incredible student. She actively helps her peers with their work, consistently scores above average on assessments, and is an overall respectful and kind person. Since last year, Maya has achieved honor roll every quarter and was even the school's junior level quarter 3 pick. To learn more about Maya and personally congratulate her for her accomplishments, the communications office visited Maya at Reach to capture this amazing video.
I'm Maya Tapia. I'm a senior at Reach Partnership High School, and I'm the October 2023 Scholar Superstar. I felt excited. I'm pretty sure I fell to the floor. Not dramatically, but I was like in shock that the whole thing was just like they chose me? Are you serious? They chose me? It was just a heartwarming experience. The subject I find the most engaging and interesting is math. The reason why I find math is the most interesting and engaging is because I love solving the equations and I love processing the equations, like the step-by-step problems. My favorite teacher is my 3rd grade teacher. Her name is Mrs. Soto. I haven't seen her since elementary school, but she's been my favorite teacher because she was the most fun to work with and she was the most caring teacher I've ever had. After graduating high school, I plan to go into college and study nursing. Honestly, I wasn't doing my best 9th grade year, but now how far I've seen myself come all the way to 12th grade, it's honestly just building yourself up and seeing others do their best. It encourages you to do your best, so please do your best. I do want to say I'm a nice person. I'm trustworthy and loyal. Someone who encourages me to do my best in school is my mom. She's always there for me and she's always asking me questions, and I see how she works and how she lives in her life every day, so she just inspires me. I want to thank her a lot.
So Maya, as we mentioned to Darius, who we recognized right before you got here, it was a tough choice, right? To look at the accomplishments and Lashana and Andre, about how many students were recommended? About 17 students, right, in this first round. And so you were very impressive as we were looking through your resume, your credentials, all the things that you're doing. And we kind of held up a meeting a little bit because we knew how busy you were being an incredible scholar, superstar, volleyball, right? Yep. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you planning on doing once you graduate? And then tell us, who are the folks around you and how have they impacted your life?
Ooh, fancy. Oh, I don't have to hold it? Oh, okay. What I plan to do after I graduate, I do plan to go into college. I really do like nursing. Right now I'm taking a nursing class, and every Thursdays and Fridays, we get to wear our scrubs and we get to check each other's pulses, our blood pressure, height, temperature. So we're just learning the basics as a nursing assistant. And it's something I really do want to do. I enjoy helping people. I really do enjoy helping people. I like seeing people being helped, or not, I don't even know how to word it, but like, just helping people. The people around me, I definitely do have my family. My family are my #1 supporters, like my mom. Huh? Oh yeah, this is
Maya, do me a favor and hold the mic. Pull it closer so we can hear you.
okay. Like this?
Yep.
Okay, so this is my mom.
This is my younger brother, my youngest brother, Miss Martin and Dr. Gresham, our principal. Definitely them are in my circle of people who support me. My brother and my dad, of course, they're not here, but they're here. And then my friends, of course, and my teachers and those. Yeah.
Nice. Tell us, what do you enjoy most about the Reach?
What I enjoy? Oh, their teachers are very involved, or students. They are. Our counselors, our teachers, our counselors especially, they're always making sure we're on track to graduate. If we have our service hours, all our credits, make sure no one falling behind. And especially if you're in sports, your coaches make sure you're not failing any classes, like asking to see how you are, like progress reports, report cards. Yeah.
Well, Maya, we have something for you tonight. We have a couple of things because you're one of our superstars, our scholar superstars. So we're actually going to invite you up along with your family, along with your school team and the Board of School Commissioners. Can we get a photo with you? All right, let's go. Yeah, Maya will be right side.
You can come back here with it.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I want to take the scholars and congratulations.
Where is he? Lemon?
He's at Glenmount. He's going to Reach next year. Yeah. Dr. Santelises.
Thank you very much. It's always wonderful to start with our superstars. Can't think of a better way to start the board meeting. I am now going to invite Chief Emily Nielsen forward for this evening's PEP agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. Good evening, commissioners. For our PEP agenda, we have a very short PEP agenda tonight. If you are present either in person or online, please stand up or turn on your camera so we can acknowledge you. From the Office of the Chief of Schools, an appointment recommended that Juliet Muti, currently coordinator 9th grade on track at Forest Park High School, be appointed assistant principal at Forest Park High School effective October 11th, 2023. Congratulations. And on the CEO notification agenda, an appointment from the Office of the Chief Academic Officer, Eric Jefferson, currently principal at Anne Arundel County Public Schools, be appointed Executive Director, Secondary Success and Innovation, effective October 23rd, 2023. Congratulations to everyone on the PEP agenda.
Well, congratulations to everyone this evening. I'm sorry, I was used to it being like a list of 45, and so we've evened out, but that's right, school has started. Well, good evening, everyone. Up first, as the cold weather season approaches, the mechanical services team is preparing for the semi-annual HVAC changeover of systems in all of our buildings beginning on Monday, October 16th. Contractors and in-house staff have been performing preventative maintenance for the past several months to prepare for the heating season. But the full changeover process takes approximately 2 weeks to complete in all buildings. Mechanical services staff will do everything possible to maintain building comfort levels during the changeover process, but temperature fluctuations, such as warm days to cooler evenings, can sometimes be challenging. There may be a few technical issues and system balancing requirements during changeover, which the team will address as quickly as possible. Please be patient as our teams prepare for winter, and contact your regional mechanical supervisor with any questions or concerns. So last Monday, one of my favorite meals of the year occurred, and it was lunch with our district office custodial staff in celebration of National Custodian Appreciation Day. Custodians really are our unsung heroes. They work hard to keep our work environment clean and healthy, and they always seem to do so with a smile. I will tell you, one of the reasons why it's my favorite lunch is because of the endorphin rush I get from all of the laughter and smiles that occurs as we share our meal together. And they're doing this work often, frankly, before many of us even come in the building and long after the majority of folks have gone home. I want to say a special thank you. Shout out to all of our custodians throughout Baltimore City Public Schools. We appreciate you. And as Chair McFadden referenced earlier, last week we did celebrate as well the contributions of our PSRP team, our paraprofessional and school-related personnel during PSRP Appreciation Week. Working in school offices, administrative positions in the district office, and in the classroom, our PSRPs perform critically important educational functions across a really wide range of responsibilities as they serve our schools, our teachers, our students, and our families. They really do dedicate themselves to ensuring that our young people have access to the supports they need to thrive, and they form an incredibly essential part of our framework for student success. Again, another big shout out of thanks to our city schools PSRP team. Thank you. Well, I am very pleased to announce that last week, Baltimore City Schools was named as one of the recipients of a Maryland Tutoring Corps grant as part of a monumental $28 million investment by the Maryland State Department of Education in tutoring. As part of our critically important program to improve proficiency in math, we will use these funds to expand in-person, high-quality math tutoring for students in grades 6 through 8th, including Algebra 1. We will utilize what we have learned from our literacy tutoring efforts, which have yielded increasing returns, and we will use that to support our math proficiency. This grant will also allow us to engage partners in higher education. Some of these institutions I had the advantage of seeing this morning on an education panel sponsored by the Banner, and so we are very proud that we will be partnering with University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC, Morgan State University, and Johns Hopkins University, as we seek to hire 200 plus college students to tutor our middle grade students. So we are very thrilled about that, and thank you to MSDE. Finally, MSDE recently released student growth percentile data from last spring's MCAP state assessments. And the results are truly encouraging. The SGP measures the amount of student growth from one year to the next on MCAP exams, really relative to where academically similar peers to a particular student performed. So it really is an apples to apples comparison. The percentile is reported between 1 and 99, with a higher score indicating a school being able to support greater student growth. For example, a score of a 52 on the SGP indicates that that student experienced more growth than 52% of his or her peers who are at the same testing level across the state of Maryland. So overall, the results are encouraging. They demonstrate progress. And in fact, at the district level, city school students outperformed 52% of students across Maryland in ELA grade 6 and 51% of students statewide in ELA 7. Some school level results are even more encouraging. I've been shouting out individual principals and school communities throughout meetings all this week and last week. There are so many examples of schools where even the average test taker grew more than 70% of students statewide, which is well above the median of 50. This is growth. This is progress. Our schools are improving, and we are making continued progress to our ultimate goal of all students achieving at high levels. Finally, I want to remind everyone that, as Commissioner McFadden said, October is National Principals Month, in which we celebrate our school leaders across the district. I have had the chance to meet with school leaders by CLN Group, just kind of small chat and choose with principals across the district throughout both last year and this year. And one of the things that I say in each one of those gatherings is not only am I convinced, but the data shows that the principalship is one of the key jobs in making a lifelong impact on students. It is one of the most challenging jobs in education, but it is also one of the most rewarding. I continue to see what the impact of a dynamic principal can be, yes, on young people and families, but also on staff, teachers who want to be part of a leader's visioning. A good principal will make any school better, and a great principal will create a learning environment where every student can flourish. I want to say thank you to Piazza for their partnership, as well as to all of our school leaders. And on behalf of the students and families of Baltimore, thank you. And Chair McFadden, this concludes my remarks for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises, for those remarks and for all of that information. Thank you. I'll now review the consent agenda. Board colleagues, please let me know if you would like an item removed, and please state your question for staff. I'm pulling item 9.05, Policy BCA, Code of Ethics, second reader for a vote. Item 9.01, Gift and Donation. Item 9.02, Gift and Donation. Item 9.03, Gift and Donation. Item 9.06, Policies BBA, B, Student Board Member Authority, and BBB, Board Member Appointment Process, Qualifications, and Term of Office. This is the second reader. Item 12.01, N2Y LLC, Unique Learning System. Item 12.02, Speech Language Pathology, Audiology, and Music Therapy Services, multiple vendors. Item 12.03, Occupational Therapy Services. Item 14.01, eDoctrina Corporation. Item 19.01, the Movement Team. Thank you. We will now move to public comment. Speakers from recognized groups will have the opportunity to speak for 5 minutes. First, we have Camille Coffey, representing the Associated Student Congress for Baltimore City. Forgive me, item 9.04, City Springs Construction Plan. Any questions? Do we need to pull that? Thank you for that, Vice Chair Roberts. Camille, are you with us?
Hi, yes, I am.
Hi, Camille.
Hi. Am I okay to start?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Camille Coffey, and I'm a senior at Baltimore Polytechnic. I'm also the African American Diversity Liaison for the Associated Student Congress of Baltimore City, who I'm speaking on behalf of tonight. Right now, ASCBC is celebrating a successful General Assembly, which was held last Tuesday. It's the first General Assembly for this school year. This year's General Assembly brought together 213 students, a record number, and they are SGA members from over 33 schools across the city. SGA members were asked to discuss crucial issues that ASCBC used to compose our policy platform for this school year. Our policy platform consists of 10 central tenets, which I'll review for you now. Number 1, informing students of their rights and enforcing student rights. ASCBC wants students to be aware of their rights under policy JJA and make sure that students' rights are protected and respected in schools. Number 2, leadership development for younger students. We want to help our young leaders in SGA develop the skills to make them successful in high school and in life. Number 3, more robust class options, including expanding access to AP, IB, honors, and elective classes. Number 4, improving mental health resources for students in school. Number 5, improving post-high school education and training. Having students know that there are post-high school options early on, and having robust and accessible support to help them is essential to students having successful lives after leaving our school system. Number 6, LGBTQ issues and gender-neutral bathrooms. Ensuring that all students are supported and safe in schools is massively important to ASCBC. And at a time where LGBTQ students are particularly under threat, we want to make sure that BCPSS students are protected. Number 7, a better grading policy for students. Number 8, a better school choice process. As the school choice process is being revised, we want to make sure that students have a voice in this process. Number 9, trauma-informed school safety measures. In light of increasing incidents of violence in schools, making sure that students have a voice in how school safety measures are implemented in their schools is essential. And number 10, healthy and tasty school food options for students. This policy platform will inform ASCBC's top priorities this school year, but for the moment, we are still committed to other initiatives that we started last year. Most prominently right now is ASCBC's fall election. We're proud to announce that we have several students running for multiple appointed and elected positions, and the campaign period has officially begun. We would like all students watching to know that early voting opens the week of October 30th, and citywide election day is November 2nd. The General Assembly and ASCBC elections are both phenomenal examples of how student democracy can be expressed robustly in our school system. And this year, we hope you will remain as committed to furthering student governments in city schools as we are. Thank you all.
Thank you, Camille. Next, we have Sherry Brown, representing the Baltimore Teachers Union.
Chair McFadden, if I can ask one quick question for Camille, just is that list that was provided organized in a priority, or is that just 10 items on the list?
They were 10 items in no particular order.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Dr. Santelises and members of the school board. I am Sherry Brown on an external assignment with the Baltimore Teachers Union as a PSRP Member Engagement Team Associate. I am here to speak on behalf of your most valuable employees in the district, your school office support personnel. They are secretaries, office assistants, registrars, and attendance monitors, just to name some of the many members in the Paraprofessional School-Related Personnel Chapter, also known as the PSRP chapter. The daily task of the office support personnel is one that not only supports administrators, but the entire district. Secretaries and office assistants are usually the first to open school doors, greeting students, staff, and visitors, and usually the last to wave goodbye to staff leaving at the end of the day. We spend more time at our work sites than we do in our own homes, and that is why it is so disheartening as to how little the district values our worth. For example, last week was the second annual Paraprofessional and School-Related Personnel Appreciation Week. This feat was accomplished by the efforts of the 2022 delegates under the leadership of BTU President Domite Brown at the AFT Delegate Convention in Boston, and as well as the Baltimore City Council passing Resolution 20-0141R declaring annually the first week of October as Baltimore City Public Schools PSRP's Appreciation Week. Excitedly, I wanted feedback for this year's celebration and sent out an all-call request to all school office support staff, including North Avenue, asking them to send photos of how all the PSRPs in their schools and work sites were appreciated. Can you guess how many photos I received or even comments of expressed appreciation at their respective work sites? None. Next October, for PSRP Appreciation Week, I would love to see photos of PSRPs having breakfast, receiving cards of appreciation, an appreciation email, happy hour invites, or gift cards, just to name a few. Leadership at North Avenue can set the tone as to how PSRPs throughout your district are being valued, respected, appreciated, and compensated for their many hours of dedication and sacrifices done to support their schools and the district as a whole. PSRPs give so much of themselves to perform many jobs daily that are in and outside of their job titles and responsibilities, jobs that others won't or can't do. They are the first friendly faces a visitor sees when entering a work site. They drive students to and from school daily, register, monitor, and call the homes of students with chronic absenteeism. They help a student and, if needed, families who may be in crisis. When a teacher is absent, it is the paraeducator greets students as they enter into a classroom. This is just a sample of what we as PSRPs do. We do it because we love and care about our schools, community, and our students. We need North Avenue to do the same. We have got to do better. As a start, we would like the PSRP Appreciation Week to be added to the district's calendar as a reminder for administrators, the school board, and BCPSS employees to celebrate PSRP Appreciation Week next school year. While many members feel that you missed the opportunity last week, you can still value us in honoring the sentiments of the PSRP chapter. We ask that during the next disbursement of the bonus checks to PSRPs in December 2023 and June of 2024, that it not be added to our regular payroll check. Members are asking that two separate checks be issued, one for our regular payroll and the other for our bonus check. I am making this comment well in advance so that payroll will have enough notice to honor this request. love us, appreciate us, respect us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown, and certainly thank you to all of our PSRP staff members who support our schools each and every day. Next, we have Deborah Demery, representing the PTA Council of Baltimore City. Good evening, Ms. Demery.
So good evening, Dr. Santalisas, commissioners, and everyone else in attendance. It's good to be back in person, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So tonight I want to talk to you a little bit about why PTA matters. Many of the decisions that impact children's education are not made by educators at their schools. The decisions frequently come from district, state, or federal officials. When issues affecting children in schools are discussed, families with children need to join forces with teachers and school administrators to be heard. There's a good chance that people making the decisions do not live with children and therefore have no idea what a typical day is like for families with school-age children. PTA has the ability to use our collective voice to share real-life experiences with those making the decisions. PTA provides a unified and powerful voice with a seat at the decision-making table. So there are over 150 schools in Baltimore City. Only 6 have PTA units. Hamilton, Northwood, Mervo, City College, Roland Park, and Renaissance Academy High School. We welcomed a community PTA serving foster families and plan to work with Ms. Phillips, the CPAC, who's coming up later, to create a unit servicing families of students with special needs. And like I said, it must have been fate. I should have been here tonight because Hazelwood reached out to me. So I'll be presenting with Hazelwood, and they've asked me to come and they would like to do PTA. So evidently something is working somewhere. So last month, National PTA was offering $600,000 to PTAs to help boost programs in the area of digital safety, STEM, healthy lifestyles, and the arts, as well as funding for advancing family and school partnerships. Once again, we have only one school taking advantage of the opportunity, and that's Renaissance Academy High School. Speaking of the arts, National PTA Reflections program has begun with this year's theme, I am hopeful because. So when I presented in August, I kind of asked the question if there were plans for an update on the fine arts policy, the district's fine arts policy. And I believe the response was somebody will circle back to me, but I haven't heard anything. So I'm just wondering if the board plans to do an update on that fine arts policy.
No, and my apologies, Ms. Demery, because
okay.
you should have received a response. So I'll ask the chief of staff and the chief academic officer to make sure you get that response. But the second piece is we do have an update coming later this year around the arts to the board. But if you have separate questions that we missed, please just write those down, or I can actually ask the chief of staff to take it right now from you, Allison, if you can get them from her, and then we'll make sure that we get that back to you. So my apologies on that.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You have a lot going on.
I'm sorry?
You have a lot going on, so I appreciate that.
No.
But my only problem is that I didn't get to reach out to Reach to see if they are interested in PTA as well. So if there's anyone watching tonight, if you're interested in PTA, we will gladly come and do an informational session for you, whether in person or virtually, to let you know what PTA is all about and what are the benefits of actually becoming a PTA unit. Because some people will say that they're PTA, but they're not official PTA. They're just an organized group. So a lot of the money, the grant money, and the resources that are provided by National PTA are being missed by our units in Baltimore City, because I don't know if they're afraid, but I don't think I'm that scary that I can, I run people away. I don't want to do that. I just want to be able to be a resource and provide as much information to local units and local schools in Baltimore City as I can.
So what we can also do, Ms. Demery, on that, I don't know if anybody from Reach is still here, but Chief Davis is here. And so we can make sure to put you in contact with the ILED, who actually has Reach, and we'll make sure that we get you circled back to make sure if anybody from Reach wanted to, and Chief Davis is here this evening too. All right?
Thank you.
One stop
Appreciate it.
shopping, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
No, my apologies.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emery.
Thank you.
You said there were six official PTAs
Yes,
in roughly 100+ schools.
yes.
So you're saying there's schools that think they have PTAs, but they're really not official
Well,
PTAs?
some people will say PTA out of habit, but technically they're not a PTA. You have to be incorporated under national PTA to become an official PTA, and that's a brand name. So you have to be very careful how you say that. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that when you say PTA, it means something. It means that you're incorporated under national PTA. You're subject to the rules and regulations and the policies of national PTA. So a lot of people believe PTA, but they're not.
Thanks for reinforcing that for me. Thank you.
You pay dues to the organization and things of that nature.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Demery.
Thank you.
We now have Ms. Sheila Billups representing the Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee, CCAC.
Greetings to all that's in attendance. I come this evening to let you know the next two meetings. Second Monday of every month, November 13th, we will be having an Office of Pupil Transportation to come and do an overview of transportation, who can receive it, why they receive it, and how they receive it. Also that evening, we will be having a question and answer time. All questions should be submitted by October the 30th. You can use my Baltimore City email address, and that's sbillups@bcps.k12.md.us. There's questions that centered around special education. Parents, staff, or students might not have what they need. So if you give me those questions in time enough, I'll find the appropriate answers so we can move forward. This is just 2 months of school started, and I'm quite sure there are some questions that you might need to be answered. December, that November 13th meeting, there'll be our last meeting at William S. Baer School at 2001 Warwick Avenue. I'd like to thank all the staff at William S. Baer School who has helped me technologically by their presence in those meetings. It has made a great deal. It was wonderful just to be in the building and to support those teachers and OT, PT, whoever came to the meetings. Our next meeting and from the rest of the year will be right here in this boardroom. We're coming home. We're coming back to the district, and those meetings will be from 6 to 8 p.m. The William S. Baer School meeting is 5 to 7, so their staff can go home early. That meeting that month we will have an art expression, winter expression, we're calling it. We're going to have some art, people who does art, who do well with art, to come and let's collaborate and just create something of our own that we could take home for the winter. Also, Ms. Michelle Grant Thornton from Partners of Success will be coming and giving an overview of her department. While I'm here, also want to talk about her Parent Empowerment Conference that's going to be held on October the 18th and 19th. If you need further information about it, contact me through my email address, and I will give you the particulars. It's a very important meeting for anyone that's receiving specialized services in Baltimore City. She has the information that will support you and your child or your student. So it's important that you go to that conference. Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you.
Commissioner Bay, there's a lot of art talk tonight, if you hear that thing. A lot of art happening. I'm going to now turn it over to the Board Executive Officer, Dr. Judkins, for public comment.
Thank you, Chair. We have one public comment from Liz Zogby, and she should be here in person. Okay.
Good evening. I have 3 issues related to students with disabilities that I'd like to raise tonight. First, I have really appreciated the willingness of city schools to engage with me directly regarding my concerns with the 3 asynchronous learning days that were added to the school calendar. The last minute release of the virtual learning plan, which was required to be publicly posted as a condition of MSDE approval and was not for months, did not allow for the intended public input on the full plan. It's my view that the needs of students with disabilities were not adequately considered when adding these days to the calendar. A not insignificant group of students with disabilities who have a federally protected right to a free and appropriate public education and whose inability to have meaningful access to virtual learning is known will only receive 177 instead of 180 school days this year. They require direct access to their expert teachers, therapists, and peers to have meaningful access to the curriculum. I've heard 2 explanations for these asynchronous days. One, that teachers needed time to complete student learning plans, having not been given adequate non-instructional time by the district to complete them. And 2, the chronic absence crisis, made worse by the 10 half days in last year's calendar. But neither those difficult attendance numbers nor a legitimate employment grievance should be resolved on the backs of students with disabilities. I hope that the board will reconsider including such days in the future. Second, the special education staffing plan. The district has received an extension from MSDE for its submission in order to get feedback from families, and I appreciate that opportunity. To get the feedback, the district should publicize that opportunity and make sure that the plan is publicly posted. My feedback will once again this year focus on the lack of transparency regarding how special education resources are allocated to meet the needs of students in LRE A and B who are primarily educated in general education classrooms. Please release the formula so that we can have an open conversation about whether such resources make it possible to meet student needs. And finally, I'd like to comment on item 12.01 on tonight's agenda, the expenditure of $300,000 for Unique Learning Systems, a cloud-based learning program sold as an instructional solution for students with significant cognitive disability. Unfortunately, this solution creates more problems than it solves. My written testimony, which all of you should get, cites multiple research studies that point to the negative consequences associated with alternate curricula like ULS as a barrier to inclusive placements and access to general education content standards, the foundation for all students, regardless of what assessment they take. In addition, there was a recent ruling from the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals that ruled against a school district that was using the ULS program because it's not peer reviewed as the IDA requires. Thank you for the opportunity to raise these issues. I look forward to further engagement with city schools to improve the educational experiences and outcomes for students with disabilities. Thanks.
Thank you. And Ms. Zogby, we do have staff who've come down with the academics and special education teams to discuss with you further some of your testimony this evening. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises, and thank you for that public testimony tonight. We have a committee that met, Teaching and Learning. Our Teaching and Learning Committee met on October 3rd. Our chair of the Teaching and Learning Committees, Slater Harrington, would you provide us with a brief update on that committee meeting?
I'd be happy to, Chair. The Teaching and Learning Committee convened on Tuesday, October 3rd. During the meeting, we were briefed on the school district's ongoing continuous improvement initiatives with particular focus on 9th grade on track to graduate, secondary literacy, and math fluency. The progress of our students and the enhancements in teaching practices are truly remarkable. This initiative's expansion will be a thoughtful and strategic endeavor involving the integration of continuous improvement practices into principal training and alignment with district goals. While all the improvements are significant, my personal highlight of the meeting was the update on secondary success and innovation efforts, featuring insights from students. The presentation encompassed a review of our graduation goals, adjustments to the high school scheduling model, grade 9 support, mentoring, advising, career coaches, career readiness, and career technical education. What truly stood out was the outstanding presentation by both staff and students, showcasing their growth and development through their involvement in the Carver House project. The students have been learning practical skills in a meaningful environment and expressed their gratitude for the unwavering support from our dedicated teachers and staff. The educators themselves exuded excitement as they shared their experiences and expressed immense satisfaction and joy witnessing their students' growth. Our next meeting, I'm pulling up right now, it will be November 7th, I believe. And should focus, I believe, on fine arts.
Thank you. Commissioner Slater Harrington, any questions or clarifying thoughts for teaching and learning? Thank you. Based on public comment, are there any items board members would like to pull from the consent agenda? I'll now move to item 9.05. We'll now entertain a motion to proceed to third reader on Board Policy BCA, Code of Ethics, and to suspend the procedures in Board Policy BGB, Policy and Recommended Actions Adoption, which require that there shall be no more than 4 weeks between the second and third reading. The reason for this delay, colleagues, is due to the need for the State Ethics Commission to approve changes to Board Policy BCA. Since the state's Ethics Commission will not meet until November 16th, 2023 to review the proposed changes, the board hopefully will vote on revisions to Board Policy BCA at third reader on December 12th, 2023. Is there a motion?
So moved. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I hereby move that the board, upon majority vote, proceed to third reader on Board Policy BCA and suspend the procedures in Board Policy BGB, which require that there shall be no more than 4 weeks between second and third reading, so that the third reader will occur at the December 12, 2023 board meeting after the State Ethics Commission has had an opportunity to review the revisions.
It's a very clear motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. Any clarifying thoughts or unreadiness? Hearing none, all in favor, Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Sally,
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously with those members present. Is there a motion to approve the remaining consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Vice Chair Roberts. Is there a second?
Second, Sally.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. All those in favor, Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Sally,
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously with those members present. We'll now move into item 10.01. 10.01, information and discussion. First reader for policy. Is anyone presenting on policy GBCA? Compensation.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is Emily Nielsen, Chief of Human Capital again. I'm pleased to introduce Zelda Johnson, our Director of Employee Engagement, who will be presenting on Policy GBCA compensation.
Good evening, Commissioners. First slide. Policy GBCA supports all 7 priorities. However, it directly relates to 2, 5, and 7. This policy impacts all employees of city schools. This is the list of topics covered by Policy GBCA. Other topics related to employees are covered by other board policies. We wanted to include in this policy position descriptions, position reclassification, salary adjustments, and several others. There are several goals in updating Policy GBCA. However, we focused on ensuring the policy complies with bargaining agreements and it aligns with our procedures. We also wanted to increase accessibility to compensation schedules and ensure unaffiliated staff receive annual increases. To streamline the policy and incorporate the policy into one, we have eliminated the administrative regulation. Next slide. There are several goals in updating Policy GBCA. However, we focused on ensuring the policy complies with bargaining agreements and it aligns with our procedures. We also wanted to increase accessibility, again, to ensure that unaffiliated employees receive increases. Based on these values, we believe that city schools should create its own compensation philosophy. These values are at the heart of our compensation philosophy, which revolves around equity, fairness, and transparency. A compensation philosophy formally documents an organization's position on employee compensation. It is normally the why behind employees' pay, and it also creates a framework for consistency. After reviewing other Maryland LEAs, compensation philosophies, we've drafted this one for city schools. And in the almost 18 years that I have worked for Human Capital, this is the first time we have even discussed the compensation philosophy. The pillars of our compensation philosophy consist of us striving to provide an overall competitive compensation package that will help us attract, retain employees. So we need to ensure that our compensation philosophy is grounded. Next slide. We have added 4 new definitions to more clarify our policy to include job class, position reclassification, and reorganization. This slide will clarify that the Office of Human Capital will develop position descriptions that include qualification standards and allow us to review salaries and benefit schedules for all positions consistent with the bargaining agreements. In other words, we are working to have more transparency and standardize what's in each description. For example, each description must include the pay scale, affiliation, and classification. Next slide. Once the position description is created, we set compensation using this process. Position descriptions and job titles are created and reviewed to determine union affiliation and salary scale placement. Salaries are set for individuals based on the requirements included in each position description and the relevant education and work experience of the individual. The pay scales, compensation setting, and salary progressions are negotiated by each union as well. Next slide. The unaffiliated employees. The definition of unaffiliated. As we discuss compensation for unaffiliated employees, here is the definition. These employees are not eligible to be under a bargaining union under the state law. Because they have been specifically designated by the CEO to act on the board's behalf, or they are other non-certificated, confidential, or managerial employees as defined by Maryland law. At city schools, the vast majority of our employees are under a bargaining union. Currently, there are approximately 281 unaffiliated employees. Unaffiliated employees have been left out of compensation for years. During my tenure here with city schools, several times unaffiliated employees went without an increase for up to 5 years. Next slide. This is a huge shift. We are in the process of adding provisions to unaffiliated compensation. We are working to develop a salary progression schedule for unaffiliated employees and shall update the board on the progress towards the implementation of interval movement salary progressions until the process for annual movement based on evaluations are finalized. Currently, annual increases are the decision of the CEO. And I'm very grateful that Dr. Santelices values all employees of city schools and made it a priority that unaffiliated employees receive increases. This has not always been the case. I've been at city schools again for almost 18 years, and this policy will ensure that this group of employees are not forgotten in the future. Not only my experience, but also extended job offers to candidates and annual increases are part of retention. Next slide. As we are redefining reclassification as the act of changing the classification of a role after the position description is updated, this may or may not have an impact on both the job title and the pay scale. Reclassification provides a fair and equitable means to evaluate whether to adjust the grades or classification or compensation for eligible employees. This typically occurs after a significant change in the job duties or level of responsibility. We want to make sure our policy is clear as to what a reclassification really is. Once the request is submitted, it must be approved by the chief or a designee. Next slide. We are also redefining reorganization as the act of changing the structure of a unit, a department, or even an organization, which included shifts in the number of roles of employees as well as their supporting structure. Reorganization typically takes place during the annual budget process. This process is intended to promote increased effectiveness of city schools and shall not be utilized as a substitute for reclassification, nor should the primary purpose be used to address performance concerns of employees impacted in a reorg. In this process, employees impacted shall receive timely notification, and HC will make available information concerning options such as employees applying for open positions. Next slide. Other additional revisions to this policy will clarify that employees serving in interim and acting assignments will receive salary adjustments in accordance with the policy GBN. It will also highlight those employees returning from a long-term leave of absence that they will have a salary placement in accordance with provisions of their specific leave category. It shall also provide additional information regarding the salary placement for former employees of city schools and specify that employees may raise claims of discrimination based on pay in accordance with our non-discrimination policies and regulations, and that other concerns or questions about compensation should be directed to the Office of Human Capital. Next slide. Our stakeholder engagement, we have incorporated feedback from several of our stakeholders to include BTU, PCAB, the Equity Advisory Committee, and the PTA of Baltimore City, as you will see in the following slides. We also held feedback sessions with our unaffiliated staff. PCAB gave us great feedback regarding the need to conduct regular salary studies. Unfortunately, we are not able to commit to a time frame to conduct these studies. We also received extensive feedback from BTU, which we tried our best to address their concerns in our revisions. And PTA of Baltimore City feedback was concerning consistency in our language, and that concern was addressed. And this is the end of the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have at this time.
First, thank you for your presentation and for your service to City Schools. 18 years, it's a big deal, so thank you for that. Want to open up to board colleagues. I see Commissioner Coy and Commissioner Coy.
Yeah, not so much of a question, but more of a just comment and saying this is, 3-4 times as long as the previous policy. So much work went into defining so many things, and just hat tip for that work and the thoughtfulness to define these different pieces. So thank you for the work that you're putting into this.
Thank you.
Length is not the only measure of meaning, but just saying, like, I think it was short before, and this is much better.
Thank you.
In the policy, in the compliance section, I appreciate the added language around updates to the board regarding unaffiliated employees. As appropriate, can you just color that in? What does that mean? So if there are changes, when would an appropriate time be for the board to be made aware of any adjustments or updates regarding schedules for unaffiliated employees?
So the policy does make the big step forward of putting the unaffiliated staff on intervals with annual movement, which will ultimately be tied to evaluation of those unaffiliated employees. So we anticipate we'll be providing annual updates on the integration of those two. So policy GBCA and policy GCO are evaluations as we move from no intervals to intervals based on having an effective or highly effective evaluation.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Any additional thoughts? Thank you to the team for your presentation tonight on first reader, and we look forward to this coming back for a second reader in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're now going to move into item 10.02, MWBE program, Minority and Women Business Enterprise. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, I'm Josh Sivan, Chief Legal Officer.
Monique Priester, MWBE Program Manager.
And we're also here joined now in the first row by Gary Atkinson, who's our Fair Practices Compliance Analyst, Quinell Gomez, who is our Director of Fair Practices, and Mike Smith, who's our MWBE consultant, who are part of the team here. Wanted to all be here.
Okay, so legal is rolling real deep this evening. I just want to point that out.
Absolutely. And this is actually joint work with finance and procurement, but we're focusing in particular here on the MWBE part. Here are the board priorities. Really, we are supporting all of the priorities with this work. And I'll just go through some overview and then turn it over to Monique to go into the details of the program. Very excited to have Monique here, coming on a year and a half. It's going by so fast, and has done great things in our program, as you'll hear. So our mission really is to expand opportunities for minority and women business. Sitting in the Office of Legal Counsel to sort of have its checks and balances with other departments, and to ultimately support our equity policy and program. Here you'll see a number of different areas where we feel like this program is critical to our work. Broadly, our work around entrepreneurship, around building wealth in our communities, and really, hopefully, our ultimate goal when we talk about this program is that would be great to be training our students to become the business owners of tomorrow that have opportunities in our system. As a foundation from the legal work, and this is very important given that there's been litigation around these programs historically, is that they're grounded in a disparity study. So back in 2014, we did a study that really showed that even with all the efforts we're taking, there still are substantial barriers to opportunity in this area for minority and women-owned businesses. And this program is designed really to take affirmative intervention to address those issues and challenge that discrimination. We really have two different programs, and this is important just because of how we talk in the data that Monique and I are going to present, but just as an overview, the program that is often the feature of our work is the MWBE requirements on our state-funded construction. So that's really guided by the state work. It's really the work that we do under the IAC for the renovations of our school, 21st Century Learning Program, and the like. The state sets goals, the state certifies businesses for that program, and there's an overall program goal of 29% by the state, and then we as city schools, really the team here, sets the goals for particular projects. In addition, for all other procurements, we have our own program that largely builds off the city program. It builds off the city's code. Sometimes we call this a city-funded program, but it's really everything in city schools that's not a construction program is eligible here. And it's governed by our own regulations. And it's also focused on businesses that are doing business in the area of Baltimore City, as opposed to the state program, which is certified businesses throughout the state. And that's important, and we often answer questions for businesses about those distinctions. I'm going to turn it over. Send me. I can keep running it. But go for it.
Perfect. That's perfect. So as we start the conversation about MWBE firms, both minority-owned and women-owned businesses, we wanted to start the conversation with a data point about how many prime contractors and subcontractors are currently doing work here at Baltimore City Public Schools. And so on the state-funded construction projects, we have approximately just over 70 between prime contractor and subcontractor. And then on what we call other city school-funded projects, we have a little over 150. So that sort of sets the stage for some of the data that we'll look at next. And so one of our primary responsibilities is setting goals on projects, whether it's state funded construction or the other city schools funded projects. And so that task really means that we are taking a look and setting project specific goals based on a number of different criteria. And so we look at the scope of work, we look at geographical location, availability of firms. So there's a lot that goes into kind of that goal setting piece. And as we talk about goal setting, there are two things that we also have to be mindful of, and that's waiver requests as well as exemptions. And so waiver requests should be, there are situations where a waiver request may be appropriate. We have reviewed a project, we've set a goal, and for some reason, the bidder may not be able to meet that goal. If that is the case, then there is a process where the bidder would have to provide substantial, good faith, documented effort that they attempted to meet the goals that we've set. Because again, we're based on a lot of different criteria, either a state program or City of Baltimore's certification. And we also have a big category, and Josh will give some data points on projects that may be exempt. And so these are traditionally projects that may not have a goal. It's not a guarantee that they're exempt, but it is really important to keep in mind that all state-funded construction projects, we do look at setting a goal. All other city school-funded projects over 50,000, we also will set a goal. But we do have to be mindful of some of these exemption categories, including piggybacking, instructional material, professional services. And so as we look at kind of the day-to-day task, what we're tasked with on a day-to-day basis, we are very busy. And so our compliance responsibilities includes the fact that on some projects and contracts, we may do all of these functions or most of these functions through an extended period of time. And so it really does take a team effort to sort of accomplish that in a way that make sure that we are within compliance as well as fulfilling our mission and vision. And there are remedies for non-compliance. And so these remedies are contractual. So it is really important that our contractors, our subcontractors are mindful that Baltimore City Public Schools does have remedy for non-compliance, and it may include any of the above or some or additional penalties. And so we will dig into the data a bit more. And So we've got quite a few slides with quite a lot of information, but this gives kind of a high level on all contracts. And so we do break that down by the state funded construction as well as the other city schools funded projects. And then take a look at sort of where we are against our goals. So overall, the MWBE program is at 31%, and that's inclusive of state funded projects at 34%, and the state benchmark is 29. So we are we're doing quite well there. And with city schools, or what we call other city schools funded, City of Baltimore has set a goal of 27 and 10 for a total of 37%, and we're trending at 30%. And so while that's not at the goal, it is far above the City of Baltimore, and so we're pretty proud of that. And then we do take a look at kind of a breakdown between the different underrepresented, underutilized, disadvantaged groups by race and gender. And so this gives high level on state funded construction. Again, it's just a breakdown on a little more granular level of some of the numbers on the previous slide between prime contractors and subcontractors. And again, additional information from the previous slide, other city schools funded projects based on, again, the gender, subcontractor, prime contractor. And just talking a bit more about the overall goal for other city funded contracts.
So I'll just chime in on this slide. This slide shows a 5-year trend data for MWBE. And I think the piece to stress here, particularly for this year, is we've had a dramatic increase in volume of contracts, largely due to some of our various construction and ESSER related funding programs. And I think it's really important and a testament to the work of this team in collaboration with operations and procurement and the other teams that we've kept up these percentages in the midst of trying to push work. And there could be a tendency from some of our prime contractors to say, well, if you want to go quickly, we're not going to take the time to make sure we have minority and women-owned businesses on the job. And so really pushing to make sure that even as we're moving the work quickly, we're still making sure it provides opportunities, including expanded work. I will also note on this slide that there was a blip last year in terms of overall. So you'll see that number that goes way up last year. And we looked at that because that was interesting. And that turns out to be a series of roofing projects that one contractor got in that year, which is great. But just so you know that sometimes these numbers fluctuate a little bit on particular projects. And we were, that contractor is busy on that work. That work continues, and that's that number. So I think this slide is really important to go back to what Monique was sharing about exemptions and waivers. So if you look on the left, this is the value of contracts received where we reviewed them for goal setting, about $337 million. But the next column is the value of contracts not where we didn't set a goal because one of these exemptions was applied, and that's 346 million. So while we're setting goals and getting over 30% on projects where we do set goals, one of our thoughts is as we try to expand opportunities, we really need to think about the work that is being currently exempted and how to strategically and incisively dig into that work and see if there are opportunities in that work, because really that's the big pot to expand opportunities and even broader. We do, in other words, the bottom line is we do pretty well when we set goals, but it would be great to set more goals on more projects. And so we'll talk a little bit more about this, but this means, for instance, traditionally, a lot of professional development has been excluded from goals in the instructional materials and academic support. So we've started conversations about what would it mean to be more strategic, planful, and holding prime contractors accountable for thinking of opportunities for minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses to expand. So that number goes down and the other number goes up. And then one piece, Monique already stole the punchline on this, but these are from the city's figures. And so we're doing better in our goals on the city, and we're keeping right up with the Stadium Authority and theirs. We compete back and forth for who has higher percentages with the Stadium Authority. Then the final slide for me before I shift it over again to Monique to talk about some of our particular accomplishments. This slide, I think, is a good evidence about the busyness of this work, right? And the need. So as we're moving these projects fast and trying to meet the ESSER deadlines, we've got to set goals. We've got to make sure the bids are evaluated and that the pay recs from the contractors. So we actually are showing that they're actually using the subcontractors that they say they're going to use. Those are all checked. And so you'll see that growth from 22 to 23, and 22 was already an increase on 21. Extraordinary growth of the volume to keep these projects going, which are so important to get out there and use this funding well.
And so taking a look at accomplishments and what we're working on into the future, a really important part of what we want to do more of is our engagement and outreach. And so with engagement and outreach, we are attending events with other community partners. So whether that's the Maryland Washington Minority Contractor Association, we're there and participating in that. We are looking at doing more vendor events with our agency partners. So for instance, Mike will be attending an event that's being hosted by Baltimore County Public Schools. So it's really important for us to always be in the room, have conversations about the great work that we're doing, so that we can capture more of those small businesses. We have had the great joy of doing some joint events with our procurement team. So it's always nice for us to be able to get out of the building and just really be out there excited about kind of the innovation that's going on throughout the school system, the different programs and projects. And so having that one-off has been really nice for all of us to be able to do. Another thing that we're doing to sort of think outside the box is having meetings with our facilities teams, whether that's design and construction, or whether that's maintenance, to introduce them to contractors and vendors that we meet kind of out in the community. And so we'll continue to do additional, we've got a lot of really strong focus around that outreach and engagement. And so we'll continue to push that. And then just wanted to highlight some of our accomplishments over the last year. So we have created a weekly tracker. It's a very manual process, so it's a lot of information, but it was really needed to be able to share information with some of our internal partners, both in finance and procurement and operations. ESSER projects, we've just had a ton of great work that we've been able to see and kind of push through and get completed with ESSER. When we talked about goal setting in those exempt projects, we have had an opportunity to look at projects one-on-one to say, even though traditionally it's very hard or almost impossible to set goals, there are some opportunities out there where there are qualified, available, certified by a state agency or city agency to do some of that work. And so, when it comes to instructional material, it can't always be the case that there are no available minority contractors, from now until the end of time. And so we continue to focus on that, as well as one of the big projects was the electric bus project. So that was a piggyback off of another school district where they set no goals, and we really pushed to make sure that we could bring in certified, qualified minority and women-owned businesses to meet a goal on a contract that we were told it would be impossible to get a goal. And so that's that was part of some federal money we received in one of the only school districts in the state of Maryland to receive EPA money for electric school buses. And so, yeah, so that's what we continue to focus on and push for. And finally, just some highlights of some of the enhancements to the program that we look to continue to work towards in the future.
So that concludes our presentation. But as you see, this work is is challenging, but I think really important to making sure that of all the contracting opportunities we have, there are opportunities to really make those opportunities themselves available to businesses in our community and throughout the state that haven't historically been able to participate. And I really appreciate working with this team and also with our colleagues in other departments to make this work.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I do want to open the floor for questions, but I want to say some privilege. And my question is around the last slide number 26, and the component around identifying and addressing potential barriers for in WBE. Thank you, Commissioner Slater-Harrington. I know that has been a topic of discussion for quite some time for your organization and for the board. I know that the push here was around, while we don't see them often, we were seeing waivers around our WMBE requirements and minority business requirements. And we were in thought partnership around how we could be supporting local small businesses to acquire those certifications. Could we talk a bit about that?
So I'll start and then Monique can weigh in. So two things. One is what we talked about throughout this presentation about thinking of projects which have been historically exempt. So for instance, the bus electrification project, to set a goal on that project was huge, as to emphasize what Monique said. The other school district that we were piggybacking didn't have a goal. And initially it was, we can't. And then we worked with them and it was a goal. Similarly, looking at the community schools RFP, historically that's had a waiver. This year, and it took a lot of work and a lot of hand-holding, we set goals for that project and worked with all those vendors to see if they could meet them. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is working to support people in moving through the certification process, whether it's the state and the city. And Monique, maybe you can talk a little bit to that.
Yes, and when it comes to certification, so we rely on someone else's, some other agency for their certification. So when we talk about a small local business enterprise, what we try to do is fit the contractors into the appropriate certification. So if we are talking to a contractor who is certified with the state of Maryland through the Maryland Department of Transportation on the construction side, our push is to say, we really need you to get certified on this, what we call the city side, right? So we need to put you in contact with the city of Baltimore, because the city of Baltimore will have a small local business enterprise will have their MWBE certification, so that the current policy, that we're not leaving anyone out. And so we really push to say, and for me personally, having been in this space, my push is to get as many certifications as appropriate for your business. And so it has to be that we have those dual conversations. And so we are very much aware of who's doing what certification. City of Baltimore County, City of Baltimore covers six counties. And so it allows us to cast a wider net. We went to a recent event with WMATA, and so we actually had a lot of really great feedback. And we actually had a minority prime contractor that's doing federal contracts, came in, sat down with Maurice Gaskins, and they're looking forward to bidding on Baltimore City Public Schools. And so we make sure that, you know, they're certified in their local area, but that they're also meeting the certification requirements within our procedures, because it's really challenging to, you know, to work outside of those guidelines. So we want them to do both. It's never an either or, it's an.
This is exciting. Thank you so much to the team. This has been an ongoing conversation for years. I just think about Commissioner Andy Frank and his continued push for the evolution of where we are going. So thank you so much to the team. Commissioner Slater-Harrington.
I think I was just kind of piggybacking on your question, and I'm always interested in how we're building the field. And not just if you're in this field, but we see what the vacancies are, we see where the gaps are in construction, and making sure that we're doing what we can to build the field so that people who are not even in the field might come in. And that might seem like a lot and like we're trying to boil the ocean as a district, but as an institution, who is committed and setting targets for that. If we're going to meet those targets, we have to build the field. And so I'm glad to hear what you just said about removing barriers, but I'm also interested in the crosswalk with our CTE education, the crosswalk with all of the things as you're out there in the forefront and seeing what's out there. How are we bringing that back, especially with the new requirements of Blueprint and saying, let's get some alignment, let's get some apprenticeships and things of that nature, and making sure that we're doing that crosswalk and building the fields where there are previously none.
And a lot of that is the conversations and the relationships. I was speaking with Chief Simmons this morning. That's someone that we met at the WMATA event. Is interested in finding out about our STEM program because he used to manage a program with college students, and he'd like to do something on the high school level and sponsor that. And so it's that constant conversation, you know, keeping an ear out to find out kind of what's going on, where is the interest. And so any way that we can, we make the connection. We are not always on the forefront of all of the other initiatives, right? We're on the forefront of what our contractors are doing. And so it's a constant conversation. You know, I'm constantly, you know, sitting in Maurice's office, and he has very little time to chit chat with me about, you know, the things that I want to talk about. But I'm sort of constantly, you know, talking to him about what's going on. And, you know, we talk about funding sources, and we've got these mixed sources of funding. You know, the sustainability team, you know, I'm up there sort of asking, you know, what does that look like? We've got some sustainability projects that are funded on the state level. And so what is the intersectionality? And so we have those conversations. It's a bit time consuming, but it's rewarding when we can talk to people who want to get involved in workforce development programs with our young people and want to do more. And again, the community schools was a great example of us getting out there, which traditionally were sort of nonprofits that don't sort of believe in or support, not that they don't support, but they tell us it's impossible.
I would push back and say that it is good to set that target. I'm glad we did it. But I was also thinking that the nonprofit sector is inundated and saturated with women and women of color in particular in leadership. And so I'm glad, but I'm still pushing because that, while an accomplishment, was.
And we take that into an account, right? So there are some waivers that were still needed, right? And that's that substantial good faith effort, right? To make sure that you can show that there's a reason why you can't. But there were, you know, a couple of contractors that are sort of big national nonprofits that were participating, and then we had some bidders that were a minority woman-owned business that bid on the contract. And so we try to make sure that we have that sort of broad-based participation in what we do and what we look at and what we evaluate. And we also look at the fact that, you know, there's some contracts which are going to be multi-bidder, and so they're going to be very small projects. And, you know, while it might be a lawn mowing contract and there's a lot of minority landscapers, they might not have the ability to then have the additional burden of a goal. And so some of the things that Gary and Mike and I talk about is doing active outreach that says, if you are a small landscape company, and while we can't set a goal over here, did you know that we have a contract coming out? And we'd like you to look at it so that you have the opportunity to either one day be the prime contractor on those smaller opportunities, or whether we're unbundling or bundling. And so there's sort of a whole host of some things.
Glad to hear about that scaffolding. And I think the more people know about that scaffolding or being able to say, okay, here are the steps. I may not be ready today, but here are the steps I can. I think that's great.
Right.
Great work.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I just want to say thank you to Gary. I can't do this without you. Michael Smith. You are crucial to the work we do. It's a lot of work, and Cornell, welcome to the team. And thank you for your patience, Josh, and my overly passionate responses sometimes.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater-Harrington. I have Commissioner Reed, then Commissioner Coy, then Commissioner Kenyatta.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you all for what you're doing. A couple of things come to mind for me. One, because of ESSER dollars and also the school construction. We lifted a lot of ships. So a lot of people were involved in terms of making money sizable than they were before. two, I guess, you articulated pretty well, both of you, in terms of the vision thing. The vision thing is a look at the exempts, seeing if we can get more WMBEs in the exempt category. But also the idea of, that sticks with me, is also the minority primes. I looked at page 15. You have minority subprimes. With minority primes, the number was 0%. So what we as a city, or what we as a board, what we as a group, increase the number of primes where we have some minority primes. And I guess the other thing that comes to mind is, I think it's another page where we have goals. You guys have done a great job in terms of the absolutes, but in terms of the goals, keep your eyes focused still on the goals. It's a little red, but the point is, if you attack the exempts and you have, you're probably juggling a lot because of ESSER dollars and state construction. So you're pretty close to the numbers, but I guess the point is, keep an eye on the goals. See if you can bring in more exempts, and also see if you can bring in some more primes.
Absolutely.
Because that prime number 0 is like,
It hurts. It hurts.
it's good to run the show sometimes.
Right. Right.
Okay.
So we put in as baseline on this slide, the number of prime contractors, the one on, and the number of subcontractors. But our hope is that when we come back next year and the year after and the year after that, we'll have those numbers are bigger. And I think that goes also to Commissioner Slater-Harrington's point, that we're also expanding the pool, and hopefully not just for us, but working with our contractors to see what are the other opportunities in this region to build even beyond us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. Commissioner Coyle?
Yeah, so, we certainly as a board have to think a lot about procurement over, each of our meetings. There's a lot on the procurement. And one of the things that really strikes me is the potential, and I saw this in what you were talking about, in the spirit of the commitment and in the letter of the commitment, but just thinking about the powerhouse that City Schools is currently in purchasing power and in economic impact for Baltimore City. The number of dollars that are spent and stay in Baltimore City because of City Schools is massive, right? And a lot of that obviously comes through staff and personnel that live here and contribute to the local economy. But I think the work that you all are doing and highlighting here is an absolute critical part of that. And even in tonight's agenda, I looked through, and I always sort of like pay attention to the line that talks about MBE and WBE results. I mean, out of the 6 tonight, all of them were sort of exempt. They're not part of that. And I hear that in what you're saying, and I really appreciate that you're thinking about that, because just because there's a reason that they aren't sort of part of that doesn't mean it's not part of what we think about. And I saw that come through clearly in what you're highlighting. I'd be interested in knowing, as and it's not a specific answer I need right now, but just as you're presenting this or putting together follow-up, this talked about the percentage of the contracts. I wonder what about the percentage of the dollar amounts of the contracts. Right? There's 2 different ways to look at it. Is how many people, and then even if some were awarded, were they awarded larger or smaller amounts? Right? Is that percentage of the dollars vary in a way that I think would be a valuable aspect of insight into the differences. And I also wonder, do we gather information when somebody begins an RFP process but doesn't complete it, right? So is there some way that there's a drop off there? And I think about this, I had a different conversation with my day job earlier, thinking about a recruitment process and trying to understand where's their drop off. Right? Where does it, because somebody may not make it all the way through to submission for some reason along the way. And I heard that talk in the outreach and some of those, but I wonder if the new ERP system or other systems that are being developed can help us to sort of better understand where there might be sort of inefficiencies, or not inefficiencies, but parts of our process that are inhibiting the type of applicants that we want to be under consideration and review. And especially when it's local and small businesses, I think that they are the least likely to make it through some of the requirements. So those are some of the broad questions that I have. But I do want to just emphasize that I think the work that you all are doing here shows that the spirit of the law matters, not just the letter of the law. And so I really appreciate that, and just underscoring that I do think Baltimore City Public Schools is a powerhouse for the economy here in Baltimore City, and we should lean into telling that story of how much economic impact is here because of city schools and the work that our wonderful staff and contractors and all of those folks do every day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner Coy. Did you all have a response?
Well, I can say when it comes to looking at the dollars, so we set the goal for the overall project. Each contractor is bidding a different amount. So you can have a contractor that's bidding $1 million and another contractor that's bidding 500,000. So you'll have some differentiation between the overall dollar amount, but the percentage across the contract is the same. So that's where there's some variation.
Well, and maybe to clarify a little bit is, so if we look at all the contracts that are awarded and look at the total dollar amounts of those that are awarded, and then look at the same categories, right? Because if you go back to the slide that has like how many prime and how many sub, that tells you can take a percentage of based on the number of contractors, but some of those contracts may be really large compared to other contracts. And so just looking and saying, where our percentages are in line with what is required from, or what is the goals for the state or local, if you were to look at it by dollars of contracts being awarded, that's not the requirement, that's not the need, but that's like in the spirit of the.
Right. So I think how we do these figures is we say, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but is to say, here's the overall value of the contract, and here is the amount of dollars were awarded to a minority or women-owned contractors. So it is.
So it's already based on the percentage of dollars.
Yes.
Okay, good. So that not just the number of contractors. So when we're presenting the number of contractors, that's not the basis for the percentage. It is the dollars awarded.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, then that answers that question already. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
So anyway, I appreciate the work that you're doing. I really do. The question I have is a lot of contractors, small businesses, et cetera, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, et cetera, find that they're in the position of not being able, they have the capacity to do the work, they have the skill, they have the talent, they may even have the licensing, but to work within a system that doesn't allow, for them to continue to survive if they were to do this job. I know I had a small business that we were constantly scratching our heads about that. From that other aspect of it, how do we manage, or how do we deal with and bringing in more of these businesses that can provide us a whole lot? Mm-hmm. But right now they have to work at just being able to wait out the check, so to speak, so to speak.
And we do have those conversations and sort of our background and experience as a collective. And there are businesses that the first contract that they bid on probably should not be any agency contract. That's not the best first highest use for a small business. But we have conversations about subcontracting opportunities, and we encourage them to attend the pre-bid meetings that we have for our contracts, because it's an opportunity for you to get emails and a list of prime contractors that are going to bid. And so a great resource is for you as a small business to start off submitting quotes to a prime contractor so that you can get a feel and an understanding of what that looks like. And then you're not primarily responsible for things like insurance and some of the other barriers to doing business. And so we have those conversations. I have conversations with them about getting into a small business development center, getting them over to, like I said, the city or to DOT, who does a ton of technical training and assistance, you know, access to capital, all of those different things that go into being a business owner. And so we have a really strong focus on entrepreneurship in general. And what's going to make your business successful. And it's not by coming to Baltimore City Public Schools and bidding on a $10 million project first thing out, because you will bankrupt your construction company if you do that. And so
The thing is that has been a tactic that has been used to keep some minority, women-owned businesses, et cetera, to the side. It's been a tactic that has been used systemically,
Right.
not by Baltimore City Schools. Okay,
Right.
let's get that straight. But it's a tactic that has been traditionally used, and
that's why we want to start to do outreach that says we have some of these smaller contracts, for lack of a better word. We have contracts that we anticipate are coming up. Keep an eye on eMaryland Marketplace. Continue to check our website. Check back with us, because there are some contracts that are coming through that you may be able to bid on at a level that you can compete, right? Because if we're going to bring on five contractors or 25 contractors, there's a space where you bid what's appropriate for your business. You know, if you can only bid 75,000, bid the 75,000 based on what you have. So we don't look at discouraging. We do look at having a conversation that we can talk through where you're at, you know, whether you're doing a joint venture. So it's never a conversation that says, don't do it because you're going to lose everything. It's a conversation about, you know, where are the opportunities?
And just to echo two other things, our office is also a resource for subcontractors to make sure that their checks are getting processed by the primes, right? Because we have to, on many of our projects, certify the pay requisitions that the subs have been paid. And so we're very attuned to that flow of funds from prime to subcontractor. And I think also a resource because I feel like there are many ways in which we, like anybody else, can continue to improve our processes of procurement, our processes of payments, and those have particular impact on both MWB's willingness to bid on our projects and also their successfulness. And I think the final piece is that a lot of those conversations with companies, but a lot of the conversations with primes who come to us and say, I don't want to subcontract, I want to do all my work in-house. And having those conversations about why that gut instinct is inconsistent with the mission of the program, but also the spirit of giving opportunity. And so there are a lot of conversations we have to have. And those are often the conversations that Monique mentioned about walking up to operations. And they always make time for us to think about how can we encourage these folks that want to bid on the big projects to think about, I need to really work to make sure that I have an MWB plumber on the project or an MWB pipe layer on the project as they build those opportunities, and not just say, well, we can all do it all in-house.
Thank you so much for the question, King Atabey, and thank you so much for the presentation. We had a number of school board members that attended the Maryland Association of Boards of Education last week, October 2nd through October the 4th. It was a convening of school board members from all 24 jurisdictions in the state of Maryland. And I want to open the floor for any reflections and thoughts on any of the programming that was offered at the conference. Commissioner Muhammad.
Thank you. I want to just take the opportunity to state that our district, when it comes to the work we're doing around equity, the work is being echoed throughout the state, that the bar has been set here in Baltimore. What equity looks like for the rest of the state of Maryland, the state of Maryland is making attempts to echo what we're doing here. So I just want to take this opportunity after experiencing these comments at MABE to highlight and raise the work that we're doing in our district. So thank you for the work that your team is doing around equity and inclusion here in Baltimore City.
Commissioner Coy?
Yeah, no, and continuing in that theme, there's a number of sessions that I was able to attend at the MABE conference. One was on school safety. Another, though, that I want to just sort of double down on what Commissioner Mohammed just outlined was on community schools. And in a similar vein, the work that Baltimore City has done for years in community schools was being echoed and the line drawn to show how that work led to what is in Kerwin. And this presentation was specifically about Kerwin. And in Kerwin, it's something that that we talk about, the Blueprint for Maryland Education, and just wanting to underscore as this is being rolled out, there are a number of pillars of Kerwin. Pillar number 4 has a specific point. 4.4 is directly about the funding community school programs for schools with a high concentration of poverty, and the importance of the concentration of poverty grants just cannot be understated. And wanting to just sort of lift that up from the MABE conference, that was a topic that we spent time digging into. And the timeline for those dollars being rolled out, right? So those dollars have not yet made their way fully into the systems. There's a step, a process that is occurring, and there's the ability to coordinate some of those dollars to think about that district-wide. But these types of activities, a community school is able to help extend learning time, after school, weekends, summer learning. It's able to support safe transportation to and from school, vision and dental care, school-based health centers, physical wellness and healthy meals. These are things that we talk about a lot at different board meetings, but just emphasizing that the concentration of poverty funding in the Blueprint for Maryland is absolutely essential. Baltimore City has been leading the way in community schools, and we need to do everything we can to celebrate, tell a story, tell why that matters so much, and to defend those dollars making their way to full implementation of the Blueprint.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Coy. I would just round us out and offer that this year's MABE conference was very blueprint targeted. There was a number of workshops to highlight the various elements or the multifacetedness of the rollout of Blueprint for Maryland's future. What I would continue to do is encourage my colleagues and the general public to follow our upcoming operations committee meetings, as well as our teaching and learning committee meetings, as we watch the district and engage in thought partnership around the implementation plan for the wonderful students of Baltimore City Public Schools. I will, like you, Commissioner Coy, will be very interested in what our upcoming legislative session looks like. We are certainly in for some work to do, but we are here and the right people are in the right seats to get the job done. Thank you so much for your remarks. Notice of upcoming meetings. We have an upcoming Operations Committee meeting on Tuesday, October 17th at 2:30 a.m. at 10:30 a.m. and that will be virtual. That on that same day, October 17th, we will have a policy committee meeting that will be virtual and will take place at 4:00 p.m. Our first family and community board forum will take place at the historic Cherry Hill Elementary Middle School. That will be in person on Wednesday, October 18th at 5:30 p.m. Our next executive session will take place in person here at 200 East North Avenue on October 24th at 3:30 p.m. And we will have a hybrid public board meeting also at 200 East North Avenue on Tuesday, October 24th, and that will start at 5:00 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, I heard Commissioner Slater Harrington. I will take King Bay as a second. Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Abstain. Okay,
Commissioner Sally.
Yes, I'm in agreement.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
And I am, yes. Good night, everyone.